the power center in this Biden campaign and what a potential Biden presidency would look like is the radical left-wing mob. It's Bernie Sanders, it's AOC, it's Ilhan Omar, and those are really the ideas that are for the American people right now. I mean, Chris, the big question
Let me push back at this, Jason. Since you're getting off on a campaign speech, let me push back on that right away. Joe Biden has not come out for Medicare for all. Joe Biden has not come out for the Green New Deal. Joe Biden has not come out for defund the police. I understand that's your talking point.
Chris, have you read his 110-page Communist Manifesto with Bernie Sanders? I mean, cashless bail. They're talking about radical tax hikes, talking about redirecting and reimagining funding for police, amnesty for 11 million illegals. These are the questions people are going to be asking as they go in to vote. These are way outside of the mainstream, Chris. Absolutely. I mean, no one, as we're going through this coronavirus recovery right now, no voter is going to go into the polls and say, you know what, I'm going to vote for the guy who wants $4 trillion in tax increases in his own version of a Green New Deal and wipe out the American energy sector. That's not a compelling message going into Election Day.
Despite what you say about the Biden campaign, the fact is it is the Trump campaign that just replaced your campaign manager. It's the Trump campaign that just paused all television advertising for 6 days to recalibrate. And I want to put up these polls. First of all, the latest Real Clear Politics average of 9 polls, 9 separate polls, shows the president trailing Biden by 7.4 points nationally. And in these 3 swing states, he trails Biden by almost 8 points in Michigan, by more than 6 points in Florida, and 6 points in Pennsylvania, all of those based not on one poll, but multiple polls in each state. Question. How do you turn this around? Because at this point, Jason, you're losing.
Well, we think we're in great shape and well positioned to win this. And in fact, for all the states that President Trump needs to win to get to 270, he's either leading or within the margin of error. We take a look back at 2016. Heck, Fox News polling had us down 9 points at this same stretch. Right now, President Trump is at a 50 fave, 48 unfave, according to Rasmussen. This exact point 4 years ago, President Trump was 8 points lower. And heck, President Trump is even 3 points higher than where Barack Obama was 8 years ago. So we're well positioned in this thing. Even the Monmouth polling that
the Fox poll compares very favorably to the Rasmussen poll in terms of accuracy. And we're not talking, because I knew you were going to attack one poll. As I said, the national poll is based on 9 polls, the state polls based on multiple polls as well. Are you really going to blame this? I mean, it seems to me that you hurt your credibility if you don't admit, yeah, we're losing and we got to turn things around.
No, I disagree. President Trump's, the trajectory lines are going very well. I feel the campaign is in a good place. I think in particular, when you look battleground by battleground state, we're doing much better than the public polling, which always tends to lag behind what our private polling is showing us. We think he's in good position right now. And in particular, we'll be back up on the air on Monday, have 2 great new ads. They're definitely going to leave a mark. And I think this is in stark contrast to where Joe Biden is and pushing for bigger tax hikes and his own version of a new Green Deal. This is the fundamental question. Do people want to keep going and improve, get back to the greatest economy that President Trump built, or they want to put in a U-turn and go back to higher taxes? I don't think that's a winning strategy for Joe Biden, Chris.
Can you state flatly that neither the Trump administration nor the Trump campaign has received any information from foreign groups, foreign nationals, about either Joe Biden or his family? And can you state flatly that neither the administration nor the campaign will accept foreign assistance?
Chris, that's a silly question. I mean, the folks who have actually taken foreign assistance were the Clinton campaign 4 years ago. I mean, that entire shady dossier they put together was from a British spy. No, we're going to go and beat Joe Biden fair and square here, absolutely. But I think you should have asked the same question to 2 of his prospective running mates, and Senator Duckworth and Karen Bass, because just as we saw 4 years ago, it was the Democrats who took foreign assistance.
But can you flatly state that the Trump campaign and the administration will not accept foreign assistance this time?
Chris, I said that's an absolutely silly question. We're going to go and win this race fair and square.
I'm just asking for, an answer. It's a yes or no question, Jason.
Chris, there is no foreign assistance that's happening in this campaign, but I would ask you to make sure that the Democrats aren't going to do what they tried to pull 4 years ago, because that's exactly, they're going to try to find every possible way to cheat and steal this election, 100%.
I promise you, if I get an interview with Vice President Biden, I will ask him exactly that same question. I want to put up the Trump.
We need to have. Why won't Joe Biden come and join your show, Chris?
Well, we've asked him. We'll ask him again. And as we put that on the record last week. I want to put up the Trump tweet that created such a controversy this week, Jason. Here it is. With universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote. Do you acknowledge that the presidential election will not be moved, that Election Day will be November 3rd, and that, in fact, the president cannot move it?
The election is going to be on November 3rd, and President Trump wants the election to be on November 3rd. The problem here, and what I think President Trump was doing a good job in highlighting, is the fact that these Democratic governors are the ones who want to go and move the election. Let's take Nevada, Chris. In the dark of the night on Friday night, this is Assembly Bill 4 in Nevada, they went and passed universal vote by mail. That's where they're sending out these ballots to everybody. They're sending out universal vote by mail. And listen to the craziness in this. They want to keep it open after November 3rd for another week if it has a postmark. But even if there's no postmark on this universal vote by mail, they want to keep it open by another 3 days. So it's these Democratic governors, these Democratic legislators who want to extend the election. That's where the problem is. There are lawsuits all around the country, whether it be Pennsylvania, a number of other places where they're trying to extend the election. We believe the election is going to be November 3rd.
So the question
Democrats
I
do
have,
not.
Jason, the question I have is the president is talking about the dangers of mail-in voting. That's clear. What is he doing as the president running a national administration to fix it?
Well, ultimately, this is the governors at the state level who have to be responsible for their states. There's been a lot of money that's been appropriated to these governors that have already been passed through Congress. Congress should be back in right now, both the House and the Senate, taking care of these unemployment benefits. But I guess they've already decided to go home for their vacation. So Congress can come back and give more. But, Chris, the thing that you're missing is that with 90 days to go before a general election, for states who have never done this universal mail-in voting, it will be a disaster. We've seen the examples, whether it be in Paterson, New Jersey, where we had 20% usage of fraud. We still don't know who won that 12th congressional district in New York. There are 100,000 ballots in California that didn't get counted in the primaries earlier. The fraud and the waste and people being disanfranchised and unable to vote is all around us. We have to stop this, Chris. You can't change it 90 days beforehand.
Jason, some people, I'm trying to give you some leeway here, but, I can't let you just make speeches. Some people say that the reason that we've had a failed coronavirus response is because we've left it to the governors and there hasn't been more of a national plan. You seem to be saying what didn't work for coronavirus is what the president is going to do when it comes to mail-in voting.
No, I think you're missing what I'm saying, Chris. President Trump is providing the leadership and calling attention to the fact that these partisan Democratic governors are trying to change the rules with just a couple of months to go, and their states do not have the infrastructure to be able to handle it. There are half dozen or so states that are vote by mail, and they have that in place, but this universal mail-in voting that they're trying to change it to, and the other thing, even with Nevada, they want to leave the polls open, some of the polls open, in addition to the vote by mail, which we've already seen from examples in Philadelphia and other places. You're going to get double voting. And so I think President Trump is doing exactly the right thing by calling attention to this problem. These governors need to step up.
I got to ask you one final question. You talk about the infrastructure, the system not being able to handle it and being overwhelmed. The Postmaster General of the United States, who is a big Republican contributor and a former Trump fundraiser, has just instituted some sizable changes at the U.S. Postal Service. Let's put them up on the screen. Prohibit overtime pay, shut down sorting machines early, require letter carriers to leave mail behind, and the result is that there is a delay in mail being delivered. Question, isn't the Postmaster General increasing the chances that the Postal Service will be overwhelmed, that the very infrastructure that you talk about it being overwhelmed will be overwhelmed coming up to the election?
No, Chris, not at all. And in fact, I think you're confusing a couple of different arguments here. The fact of the matter is that we saw from Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, who wanted to have the prepaid postage envelopes for ballots. Well, guess what? Normally, the Post Service doesn't go into
No, wait a minute. Now, Jason, we're talking about the Postmaster General, Mr. DeJoy, and we're talking about cost-cutting reforms that he instituted in July.
Chris,
I'm not mixing up anything. If you want to answer my question, but please don't go into
Postal Service
Please
has
don't
been
go
a
into what Andrew
disaster
Cuomo
for
is doing.
decades.
Answer my question.
I am
Pardon?
answering your question. The Postal Service has been a disaster for decades. I'm glad that we're getting some financial accountability and trying to get the thing right-sized. But to go and try to put it off on that, it's the state governors trying to change the rules 90 days before an election that's going to lead to millions of Americans being disenfranchised. That's the issue, Chris. You can't go and change it away.
Jason, thank you. Thanks for talking with us. Always interesting to talk to you.